So this week's parsha is Parshas Toldos. There's the classical question that's brought in many svarim. The Rebbe talks about it too. Why is this week's parsha called Toldos? And a couple of weeks ago in Parshas Noach, where it also begins with the words Ve'ela Toldos Noach, over there the parsha is called Noach. Over here it should also either here it should be called Ve'ela or Yitzchak. The Rebbe asks this question also, but I saw an answer that the Parshas Noach is primarily talking about him. So therefore, it makes sense to title the parsha with the name Noach. This week's parsha primarily talks about not about Yitzchak, not about Yitzchak. It's about Yaakov and Esav. So therefore, it makes more sense that the headline, the title of the parsha should be called Toldos, which is the offspring, is the children of Yitzchak. In the opening statement, Rashi says, Yaakov ve'Esav, Esav ve'Yaakov ha'amurim b'parsha. The Toldos, the children, are referring to the Yaakov and Esav who are discussed in the parsha. I saw a very chassidish shot from the Meir Enayim. The Meir Enayim says, Yaakov ve'Esav ha'amurim b'parsha could be translated throughout life. Every person has to make the hafrasha, the separation between Yaakov and Esav. Know clearly who is the Yaakov, who is the Esav, what does Yaakov stand for, and what does Esav stand for. And I'll give you some examples. For example, let's start with Rivka. When Rivka said, and she felt the babies in her, she was confused about when she walked by a church, lahavdil, and she walked by a yeshiva. So she says, Im kain lama ze anoichi. I'm just going to give an example how a Yaakov and what he stands for, how they translate things, what glasses they see things through, and how Esav looks at things. So Rivka, for example, says in Cain, Lama ze anoichi. What does that Lama ze anoichi mean? So there are a couple of beautiful chassidish pshat. The Apter Rav says Lama ze anoichi is a practical thing. Since she feels that the kid is jumping around, and some of them, either the same kid, whatever, is also going to Avodah Zarah, Rahman al-Islam. She says, why is it that my kids, my children, or my child is going to have all the midas and rois from Anoichi, from my family? Why couldn't my children have some good midas or behave like Yitzchak, who obviously is a great tzaddik? But then there's the chassidish pshat. If we have a child that's dancing around from place to place, im kain lama zeh anoichi, what's going to be with the anoichi, the Kabbalah Satira? How could we have Kabbalah Satira with a person who dances around and he's also Rahman al-Islam going to church? And another taiches, lama zeh anoichi means she felt that maybe her tefillah wasn't for real because maybe some personal anoichius in her own ego got involved, so she was blaming herself for what was happening. But the Chassidish pshat is what I want to stress. What's going to be with the Anoichi? What's going to be with the Anoichi Hashem Elekecha, the Matan Torah, if this is a kid that we have? When Esav comes home and Esav is hungry, so Esav says, you know what? Ki oyev Anoichi. He also uses the word Anoichi. He says, I'm very tired, so give me the food you got. So Chassidish Svarim explain. Suddenly he says Ki oyev anoichi. He's basically saying that whenever it comes to matters of anoichi, whenever it comes to matters of anoichi Hashem Elekecha Torah mitzvahs, suddenly he becomes tired. When it comes to hunting and everything else, he's not so tired. Simcha Bunim B'Shizcha translated V'yitnu l'cha elikim mitala shamayim mishmanei aretz. V'yitnu l'cha. The main bracha should be that ha'elikim, that you should always serve and spread the elikus in the world. By Rivka, when Rivka sees that Yitzchak wants to give Esav the bracha, so she says, she does the whole trick, so Yaakov should get the bracha. So it says that Yitzchak, when he asked Esav to come and get the bracha, do what you got to do and get the bracha, it says, Va'verachecha lefnei Hashem. That was the code word that made Rivka feel that it can't be for Esav. because Esav is not Lifnei Hashem. When Rivka heard that Yitzchak was saying, I want to give the bracha to somebody who recognizes that everything should be done Lifnei Hashem, I know he definitely meant Yaakov. And therefore it's not cheating, and therefore you got the great bracha of V'yitem L'cha Elikim Mitala Shemayim Mishmani Yoretz.